Hi friends, welcome to Azure Content. This is the second video in Azure Logic App's Real-Time Scenarios playlist. In this video, we will learn how to read multiple JSONs from Azure Data Lake Storage and load it into SQL table as multiple rows. So in the previous video, we have seen practically how to create the Logic App workflow to load one single JSON from ADLS to SQL table. And in this video, we will try to modify the same Logic App workflow in order to read data from multiple JSONs from the source and then to load into the SQL table. So let's go to Azure portal and let's start the demo. Okay, so here is the Logic app which we created in the last video. If you haven't yet gone through that video, I would recommend you to go through the first video and then jump onto this video. Okay, so this Logic app is basically reading the data from ADLS, but since this gives data as an encoded value, so we are initializing a variable to convert it into JSON format, and then we are trying to parse that JSON, and then we are loading the data into the SQL. Okay, so in this video we will try to modify this Logic App workflow so that we can read multiple JSONs from the source and then we can load it into the sink, that is our SQL table. Okay, so this is our table, employees table, where we already have one row from the previous Logic App run which we created in the last video. Okay, so last time it was a single JSON, but this time we have a set of multiple JSONs. If I show you the input file, it looks like this. So basically we have an array called employees, and inside this array we have multiple JSONs, 1, 2, 3 and 4. In total we have 4 JSONs. So we are expecting it would load 4 rows in this employees table. Okay, so we need to modify this Logic app in order to accommodate multiple JSONs instead of just one JSON that it was loading before. Okay, so we are not going to create the Logic app from scratch. We have already done it in the last video. We are just going to modify it in order to load multiple JSONs. Okay, so the first thing that you see in this Logic app is recurrence. It is basically a scheduled trigger which you can set in order to run this Logic app over a period of time. It may be daily, monthly, or according to your need, you can choose the recurrence. Okay, and then you can see we have get blob contents, which is responsible to get the data from the source file present in our Azure Data Lake storage. Okay, so here if I click on that, we don't need to change anything because it is pointing to the same source. The file name is also same and container name, storage account, everything is same. So we don't need to change anything in this action. Okay, coming to this initialize variable, we had created this variable which was of type object, and we were just trying to convert the output of this get blob content into JSON format. Okay, so right now the input file that we have, although it contains multiple JSONs, but still it is an object. As you can see, it is enclosed within the curly braces. It's basically a JSON file, but the only change is this employee property contains an array of multiple JSONs. Okay, so we can still treat it as an object and let the value be JSON of the output of blob content. Let it be like that. And then let's move ahead with this parsing of JSON. So here in the content, it is pointing to the variable, which is fine. We will not touch this. But the schema should be changed because the schema of the input JSON has been changed. Okay. So what we can do is we will remove this entire schema that we had created in the last video, and then we will use our input JSON to create the schema here. Okay, so either we can manually create the schema as we have done in the last video using the sample code present in the official documentation, which is basically the generated schema. Okay, or else what we can do is we can use this option to automatically generate the schema. So let me first remove this already present schema, and then I will hit on this use sample payload, and let me copy this input JSON and then let me paste it here. So now it should automatically generate the schema. So let me hit on done. So you can see it has successfully generated the schema for the input JSON that we have given. Okay. And if you notice, the type of this entire JSON payload is object, but the type of this employees JSON is an array, which was not the case with the previous schema. Okay, so we should be good now. Let me collapse this and let me hit on save first. Yeah, so now we are good with this parse JSON action. But after that, we were using insert row for SQL Server connector, but we cannot directly use it this time because we have to iterate through each of the JSONs present in employees array, and then only we can load it into the SQL table one by one. So for that, we cannot directly use this. Let me delete this insert row. And then in order to iterate through each of the JSONs present in this employees array, we need to add an action called for each, which will basically iterate through each of the items present in the array. So you can see inside control, we have this for each option. So I'll click on that. So you can see it has added for each, and we will get the output from the previous step. So for that, either we can use this or function. Okay. So let me click on that. So you can see it is giving an option to point to the employees array present in the parse JSON. So let me hit on that. And if I hover on that, you can see the expression is body parse JSON and then employees. So basically it is pointing to this employees array. Okay. So the whole array it is pointing to, and inside for each, we will be looping through the items of the array present in the employees array. Okay. So inside this for each loop, let me now add the insert row action. Okay. So let me search for SQL connector. Yeah. So again, we have to select the server name. I already have the connection string, so I'm not going to create a new one. We will be using the same table. So let me point to employees table. So we should be good now. So let me hit on save. Okay. And if you see the table right now, we just have one row. So I'm not going to truncate it because it was from the previous run. So we can just ignore it. But we can just compare it with the previous run. Earlier, the employee name was ABC. This time, we are expecting 4 rows with the employee name Anu, Ashish, Rajan, and Ranjana. Okay, so let's see after running, we get the expected output or not. So it is triggered. Let's go to run history. And if you see it has failed, let me check what went wrong. Let's wait. So you can see inside for it something went wrong. Bad request, it is saying. So let's go back into Logic App Designer. Okay, so let's go to insert row. So here the server name and everything is coming as default. Let me deselect it. And what we missed is we have not given this advanced parameter. Okay, so let me click on show all. And then for each of the columns present in the table, we have to point to the output of JSON via this for each loop. Okay, so for that, let me hit on this function and we'll write an expression going to the dynamic content. And let's search for each, right? So we are inside for each. So using this current item, we have to loop through each of the items, and then we need to map each of the properties present in the JSON with each of the columns of the table. Okay. So either we can write the expression manually, or let me search for employee name. So you can see inside parse JSON, we have the employee name. So let me click on that. So you can see we have selected the employee name of parse JSON, but it has given item, which is fine. Let me give an enter, and here we will select this current item. So the difference between these two items is here it is just pointing to one single item, but here it will iterate through each of the items present in the for each. So let me just cut it from here, and instead of this item, I will paste for each items. Okay, and let me copy the entire thing, and I will do the same for hire date. Let me paste it here, and instead of employee name, I will write the column name hire date and Same thing for salary as well. So let me remove it and give salary, which is the third column name. So now let me hit on save. So our parameters are ready. Now let's hit on run and let's see this time if it succeeds or not. You can see it is already succeeded. Let's check the output of insert row. So output says 201. Let's see what came into the table. So you can see everything has been inserted successfully. And if we match with the sample JSON that we had, so you can see here the first name Anu, salary 10,000, and this is the hire date. So the ordering is different, but the data is correct. Okay. And same thing, Ashish, and salary is 20,000, which is correct. Okay. So similarly, the other two are also loaded. Okay. So let's go back. So here in the output, if you see, uh, it is showing only one row here because we have selected one here in the loop of this last run. And then if you select the second iteration, it will show the second row. Okay. So similarly, if you see the third one, you can see the third iteration data. Okay. So we are successfully able to load each of the data present in the JSON. So with the help of for each, we have successfully iterated through this employees array and we have loaded each of the JSONs to each of the rows inside the SQL. Okay, with the help of this logic app. Okay, so that's it for this video, guys. I hope you find the video helpful and please don't forget to hit on like button and please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done it yet. Thank you.